Hello and welcome to you all in this third session on RX Swift. In this session, we are going to learn some of the very major topics and we will also start working on some simple examples. So very first thing that we need is the environment required to run RX Swift on your Xcode. At this particular moment, I assume that you all are aware with the Cocoa Pods. In case of any problem, you can provide your comment in comment box and I will definitely help you. So to run RX Swift on your Xcode, you will be needing two pods. One is RX Swift and one is RX Cocoa. So you need to copy these two instructions in your pod file and run pod install. And once these two pods get installed, then you need to import them at the top of your file where you are using RX Swift. You need not to worry about rest of the two pods that are shown on the screen, RX blocking and RX test. These two pods will be required at the time of writing unit test case for your project, but for now, these are not required. Replay is an important concept in order to understand our next topic. So emission of the previous element to the new subscriber is known as replay. So what does it mean? Suppose at a particular time instant, the emission of an element has been done by an observable, but you are subscribing with the help of new subscriber to that observable after that particular time instant. Now the emission of element has been done and you are subscribing after that particular time instant, but still some of the observable are capable of emitting that previous element to the new subscriber. So this is known as replay. Subjects are the very special data type in RX Swift. So they can work as observer also and can work as observable also. There are four types of the subject. One is published subject, second is behavior, third is replay, and fourth is behavior relay. Published subject are those subjects that can emit only new event to its subscriber. So if you want to notify your subscriber only about the new events, then you use published subject. Published subject can't replay the events. One practical example is, suppose you are getting the data from an API into an array in the form of published subject. So whenever a new subscriber is subscribed to that published subject, it will only get the new data. So this is one of the practical example of using published subject. Behavior subject can replay the latest event to its subscriber. Even if you are going to subscribe after the time instant when the latest event has been already emitted by the observable, then also behavioral subject are capable of giving the latest event to its new subscriber. These subjects are always initialized with an initial value. So if none of the latest event has been happened yet, then they can replay the initial value only. One practical example of behavioral subject is implementing user location feature. So your behavior subject will always be initialized with the current location of the user, and whenever a new subscriber is going to subscribe your behavior subject, then your subject will replay the latest value always. And if the latest user location is not available, then the initial user location will be made available to your new subscriber. In that way, your behavior subject will always replay the latest value. Replay subjects are capable of replaying more than most recent values to its subscriber, and this limit depends upon the buffer value that is given at the time of the initialization of the replay subjects. Suppose if you have given the buffer value as 3, then your subject will be capable of replaying 3 most recent values to its subscriber. One practical condition of the uses of replay subject is while implementing the Dart game. In the Dart game, every time you need to wait for the 3 attempts of a particular user to calculate the score of a particular round. So in these kind of condition where you need to replay the more than most recent value to its subscriber, then you always use the replay subjects. Behavior relay are the subjects that you will use most of the times to implement your requirements. These subjects can never be error out and can never be completed. They always emit the next event. So most of the general purpose requirements are satisfied with the help of behavior relay subject. Now you understand all the RxSwift subject conceptually. Let's take a look into the syntax how they can be initialized. At the line number 20, we are initializing a published subject that is of type string. At the line number 24, we are initializing a behavioral subject which is taking an initial value. And at the line number 28, we are initializing a replace subject that is taking a buffer size of 3. At the line number of 32, we are initializing a behavioral relay that is the subject that can satisfy most of the time of your journal requirements. For example, if you need to represent a string inside your struct, then you can take it as behavioral relay. Because these are the subjects that never error out and never get completed. They always emit the next event. So they are most suitable to represent your general purpose requirement where you need to represent a variable. In second session, you have already got the understanding that what the observables are in RxSwift. In this session, we will learn what are the different operators available through which we can create the observable sequence in our code. Basically, we have 3 operators in RxSwift. With the help of them, we can create an observable sequence. So first is just operator, second is off operator, and third one is the from operator. Now let's take a look into the usage condition and the syntax of each operator. So if you want to create an observable sequence with single element, then you can use the just operator as shown in the line number 36. And if you want to create an observable sequence of multiple element, then you can use off operator, and the example given is at the line number 39. At the line number 42, we are creating an observable sequence from an array. So that's why we are using the from operator. So these are the 3 different situations in which you can use just, off or from operator to create your observable sequence. So I think it's one of the easy example to understand. Now let's move toward the types of the events for an observable sequence. Dispose and dispose bag are 2 very important topics of RxSwift, because RxSwift completely relies on these 2 methods for the memory cleaning. So when you want to end your subscription from an observable sequence, then you call dispose method on it. And the moment you call dispose method on a subscription, then underlying observable sequence emit a completed event and then it gets terminated. Similarly, dispose bag works like a container. You keep on adding contents into your dispose bag, and the moment you call the dispose method on your dispose bag, all the contents of that dispose bag gets cleaned. It works like a garbage collector in your home, where you keep on adding the garbage into that garbage collector, and once you throw it out from your house, and then your house gets clean. So similarly is the concept of dispose bag. One very important point that you need to take into consideration is dispose method gives you a ability to dispose your subscription immediately when you call dispose method on it. But in terms of dispose bag, you keep on adding your content into it and it get flushed from your memory as per the system decision. You have also got the understanding of these topics in the second session. Now it's time to take a look into the practical implementation for these 2. At the line number 47, we have created a subscription in the form of subscribe 1, where there is an observable that is having 3 elements 100, 200 and 300, and at the time when we call dispose method on it, you can see the output on the console inside the red box. When we call the dispose method on it, the completed event get emitted, and after that your sequence is terminated. And similarly, whenever you want to use the dispose bag, first of all you need to allocate your dispose bag. At the line number 52, we are allocating this dispose bag, and at the end of the line number 53, we are using this dispose bag for the disposal of our subscription. As we already know, there could be 3 kinds of events from an observable sequence. One is next, another one is error, and last one is completed. So there could be a possibility that you are interested only in the next event from an observable sequence, and there could be a condition also where you are interested in all the possible events from an observable sequence. So in both of the condition, you use different signature of the subscription method to get the events in which you are interested. Now let's see this thing with the help of an example. At the line number 57, we are only interested in the next event. So we are using subscribe on next operator on our observable sequence. In the console, you can see the output. Only 11, 12 and 13 elements are printed as the emission from your observable sequence, and no completed event is getting printed on the console because we have subscribed only to the next events of our observable sequence. In second implementation, we are interested in all the events of our observable sequence. That's why we are using different signature of our subscribe method. With the help of subscribe on next, on error, on completed and on dispose signature, we are subscribed to all the events from the observable sequence. At the console, you can see with the help of on next, we are getting 11, 12 and 13, and with the help of on completed and on disposed, we are getting two of the lines printed at the last. So in that way, we are subscribed to all the possible events from our observable sequence. When it comes to the concurrent programming, we are having schedulers in RxSwift. There are 5 types of schedulers available in RxSwift. Number 1 is serial dispatch queue scheduler. Number 2, current dispatch queue scheduler. Number 3, operation queue scheduler. And there are 2 singletons available, that are current thread scheduler and main thread scheduler. From these 5 schedulers, last of the 2 are the singletons, in which current thread scheduler represent your current thread and main thread scheduler represent your main thread. So whenever you need to do the work related with the UIKit element, then you always perform it into the main thread scheduler. On the screen, we can see the example of all these 3 schedulers, where at the line number 73, we have created a concurrent scheduler with the help of a concurrent dispatch queue scheduler class, and with the help of QS class, we have given the value as .background. That means whatever operation we are going to perform, that will be done only on the background thread. So here we are observing an image data that is somewhere coming from the API, and that is represented with the help of publish subject. So with the help of observe on operator, we are performing this operation on the background thread with the help of concurrent scheduler at the line number 74. And when we receive the data from our API, with the help of a transforming operator, that is .map, we are converting it again into the UI image format. So this is represented at the line number 75, where we are using the .map operator. And at this particular moment, don't worry about transforming operators, because going forward the next topic is the transforming operators only. So for the understanding purpose, right now you can ignore this part if you are unable to understand this. And now we have converted that data into UI image format, and now we need to set it into the UI image view. And as we already know, whenever we deal with the UIKit element, we always do it onto the main scheduler. So that's why at the line number 76, we are again shifting back to the main scheduler for this purpose. And with the help of subscribe operator, we are setting that image data into our image view only on the main scheduler. And at the line number 78, we are disposing our subscription for the memory cleanup. So this is one of the example of concurrent scheduler, where we are performing all the operations on the background thread, and once we receive the data and convert it back into the UI image format, and then we shift back to the main scheduler to set it back into the UI image view. So in the second example, that is starting from line number 82, we have created a concurrent queue with the name of com.concurrent queue, and in the next line we have created a serial dispatch queue scheduler in which we are passing this concurrent queue. So maybe you would be surprised to see this example, where at one place we are creating a concurrent queue and then passing it into the serial dispatch queue scheduler. So this is just to demonstrate you that no matter you have created a concurrent queue, but if you are going to pass it into the serial dispatch queue scheduler, it will be a serial queue again. So this is just to demonstrate this condition, nothing else. And after that, the code that is written from line number 85 to 89, this is somewhere similar to the example that we have already understood. We are again observing our image data that is coming from the API on the serial scheduler, and on the same queue we are converting it back into the UI image view. And once we get the data into the format of UI image, then we are shifting back again to the main scheduler, and then with the help of subscribe operator, we are setting this image data into our image view, and at last we are using the dispose for the memory cleanup. So I hope things are clear here now. And at the line number 91, we have given example for the operation queue scheduler. This is very simple example where at the line number 93 we have created operation queue, and at the line number 94 we are creating operation queue scheduler in which we are passing this operation queue. And again we are using the same example, but what we are doing here is with the help of observe on operator, we are performing this operation on this operation queue scheduler, that is doing all of your operation inside that operation queue that you have initialized at line number 93. So these are the three examples of the schedulers with the help of which you can perform your concurrent code in RxSwift. And one point is very much of important that you need to remember, that whenever you need to perform any operation with UIKit element, you always need to do it on main scheduler. I wanted to end this session with the transforming operators as last topic, but somewhere it has been already stressed too much, so we will cover this topic into the fourth session. Also, I am not in very good condition of health right now, so that's why I was unable to shoot the video for this particular session. Next time I will try to come up with more energy for all of you. So till then, keep learning, stay motivated, and bye for now.